I'm gonna be in a party after this. I'm just listening to this. I am setting up stream. Yeah, I put the stream in the announcement chat, everybody, and it's in the Discord as well. No, I didn't, dude. Drop it. It's not happening. Bingo. Apex, get in your car. What? Okay. Good luck, everybody. Have fun. Don't piss me off. Even though that already happened. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Getting ready to get loaded up here. I'm all by myself. Sad boy hours. Can I get an F in chat for that, please? Oh man, sick boy hours. Whew. If I mute myself or go mute or anything during an important time or something, it's because I'm either coughing, blowing my nose, or doing something else. So I'm sorry for any inconvenience there. Jonathan is at a concert with Laser Runner today, so I'm Mr. Lonely today. I'm Mr. Lonely. I have nobody. I hate that chicane. I hate it. It's the worst. Which chicane do you go through? That's the real question. There's 26 of them. Just figure out which one you want to go through. Whichever one's the fastest. You just can't go straight. That's about it. Oh, my throat. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the F1 UDL GP here in France. I'm your commentator for today, Mr. Damage. Jonathan is sadly not with me today, as like I just said, he is at a concert right now. What is it with people going on concerts, man? I'm trying to get hyped and watch some F1. Here we have a couple of drivers going out on the track already. Meda he just clarified to me how to say it, so I gotta make sure to say it right. Alright, so here we go, boys. Apex, Boknos, out on a lap. I just saw Red Bull going out. Get that money and run. Is on track as well. France is one of those tracks where it's all about rhythm. It's all about how you can get your laps in and have the best rhythm of everybody else. If you mess up one part of this lap, that's your entire lap ruined. Because guess what? Every corner flows into another one. It's one of those tracks that's so fun to drive, but you can't overtake. So here we are starting out this qualifying session. We've got a bunch of fast drivers here today. I have no clue who's the fastest. I haven't watched any of the practice sessions. And doing other things. So here we are. We got a few drivers still making their out laps. See who's coming and figure out who's coming up to the line here first. I think it'll be Massa. I'm not sure. We'll find out. Find out here shortly. Go ahead and fix my spectator menu. Fitted. Lap data is Apex starts his first flying lap with Bokonos right behind him here. We already have a yellow flag in Sector 3. I wonder who that's for. Just diving off into Turn 1. One of those Turn 1s that's really hard to judge because it's just so fast. It's really easy to overbrake going here into Turn 4, I believe this is. No, that was Turn 3. That was Turn 4. Going through Turn 5. A really tough section here at the end of this first sector. First sector split time of 25.2. Bokonos, a 25.5. So I'm just going to ride along here with Apex, as I believe he'll be the first one to cross the line. And I'll just go over the lap here. This chicane, right in the middle of this straight to break up the straight. Dive off into that corner, then you really have to back it down for that turn, but you need to straight line that exit as much as possible to be able to get a good run down this next straight here, going into the third sector. This is a tough corner coming up here. This fast right-hander, increasing radius, sweep it out wide and come back in and hit the apex. And whenever you hit the apex, you just plow down on that loud pedal. Coming through this, another sweeping, increasing radius left-hander and onto a easy flat right-hander into yet another decreasing radius left-hander into the final corner. A nice little semi-hairpin going into the main straight. Let's see what Apex can put in for his first lap of this qualifying section. He goes a 131.4. See what Bokonos can do right behind him. 132.0. Okay, so there's your benchmark, everybody. A 131.4. Looks like the next ones to cross the line will be the McLarens. One of the McLarens get that money and run. Got his lap invalidated. Let's see if Greco's lap is invalidated. It is. So that's not going to be good news for them. Here comes Sniper Pig to come across the line now, and his lap was invalidated. This is definitely one of those tracks that's tough on track limits because everything you can drive on, basically. Bossman puts in a 131.6 to go up into P2. Drew Yu, P4 with a 132.8. Dahl just crossed the line to start his first flying lap. And this track is definitely, like I said, it's a rhythm track, and it's a hard track to get down. This is one of the toughest tracks on the circuit in my eyes because it's just so fast. Here we have Dahl just finished the first sector with a 25.4 split time. Man coming across the line to finish his first lap on the mediums, and it was invalidated. Someone else just crossed the line in a Renault. That was Sinister to start his first flying lap. And the second Toro Rosso of Kill the Birdman just went across the line on his medium set, but was also invalidated. I'll jump back up here to the McLaren duo of Get That Money and Run. Get That Money and Run puts in a 132.1, a good banker time, as Nile also puts in a 133.6, and Greco goes up to provisional pole position with a 131.2, and then Sniper Pig immediately snaps it away from him. He could hold that pole position trophy in his hands. That Pirelli tire had his name on it for a solid 2 seconds until Sniper Pig ripped it right out of his hands with a 131.1. Dahl puts in his first lap of this session with a 132.2, putting himself up into P7. With these cars, you have so many sets of these soft tires that you can really put in a couple of good banker laps, and then you'll still have a good fresh set for the race, which really nice to know that you can put as much into this qualifying session as you want to and not have very much against your name. As Man comes across the line to set his first flying lap at a 133.7. Here comes Sinister going towards the final corner now. Let's see if he can get a lap on the board, as I'm not even sure who just put in a time, as Sinister was invalidated there. I think it was Birdman. Yes, Birdman puts in a time. Put himself up into P10 here in this qualifying session Got the McLaren to get that money and run, pulling over to the side. It looks like he ran out of fuel or something. So that's not very optimum for him. Got a few drivers going on a pretty long run here. The tire wear here, because the track is relatively smooth since it was repaved, the tire wear isn't terrible, but because of all the long sweeping corners, as Dahl peels off into the pit lane, because of all those long sweeping corners, tire wear can be an issue, as all the top drivers will be peeling off into the pit lane now, as both the Ferrari and the McLaren of Bocanos and what looks like Get That Money and Run pull off the circuit to let each other go. Massa still yet to set a flying lap, and here he is going through the third sector now, going through that really tight right, or the hard right-hander, as the Renault of Sinister gets out of everybody's way. See what Masa Shiro can do. See if he can put himself up there in a good quality position for the race. And really in this league, because everybody is so tight and compact, you can really win one of these races from anywhere, but it just takes a whole lot of work. As Madia puts in a flying lap, but it's invalidated. Massa puts in a 1:32.666. Call in the devil. He puts himself in P9, and Glenn Coco right behind him in the Red Bull goes into P10. Still got a few drivers roaming around on their first set of softs. Sniper Pig making yet another outlap on a brand new set of soft tires, as well as Greco. Pecan is also making his first outlap of the session. He's coming to that backstretch chicane now. Sinister just finished the first sector, and he's going into the second sector. So there's a yellow flag in sector 1. Not sure what that's for. Probably just a car slowing down, getting out of the way. Here we're watching Apex. He will most likely be peeling off into the pits here at the end of this lap, I would assume. Drew Yu in this Force India car. Good consistent driver he is. It's always in and around the bottom half of the points. It's really nice. He has those quiet drives that seem to get him everywhere. He seems to just be there whenever he needs to be. As we have Sinister coming through the final sector once again. Let's see if he can put in a lap. See if he can get one on the board. Get his name up there a little bit. Comes around the final corner now. Opens up that DRS flap. That letterbox in his rear wing. And Sinister goes to provisional pole position on 3-lap old tires with a 1:30.9. A stellar lap time from him, given how old those tires are. Unbelievable scenes here. As Sniper Pig and Greco are just now starting their first flying lap. Apex getting out of the way, as he will most likely be pitting this lap. Drew Yu coming through the final sector now on his second flying lap on a brand new pair of softs. Let's see what he can do coming through to the final corner now. Such a hard section to drive through. That turn 15 is not very fun as he comes across the line now. He goes up into P12 with a 1:32.8. New entry here this week, Miami. I believe that's how you say his name. If it's not Miami, please let me know. It's Pecan just finished the second sector and is coming into the third sector now on his first flying lap. Sniper Pig in the third sector, as well as Greco. He just got into the third sector. So we've got a lot of fast drivers on the track right now. It's Pecan puts it up into P2 with a 1:31.0, still a 10th behind Sinister. Sinister's lap time is stellar. Sniper Pig coming around the final corner now. Let's see if he can put himself back onto provisional pole, take it away from Sinister. 32.4, a good warm-up lap for this flying lap he's about to put in. Greco coming around the final corner now. Let's see if he can improve on his time. Bossman improves and goes P3 with a 1:31.1, and Greco puts in a 130.6, 3/10 faster than Sinister's lap. But Sinister was on those old softs, so be expecting him to be putting in a good lap time here at the end of the session. Dahl just finished another flying lap. He's up into P8. Get that money and run. Just started his flying lap. Let's see what Niall can do here. It looks like he's finishing up the third sector now. There's a Toro Rosso in front of him, but it looks like they're on their out lap here. So let's see what Niall can do coming through the final corner now. Coming up to that DRS stripe. Going to open up that DRS, and he will come across the line to stay P15. He went a 132.7, but it was in fact invalidated. So the invalidation here seems to be really harsh. A lot of these drivers are getting caught out by the track limits here. And as a reminder, we use strict track limits here in qualifying. In the race we use regular, but in qualifying we use strict just to make it a little more fair, you know. Make it where everybody has the same shot. Massa starts his first flying lap on a new set of rubber. Miami coming through the third sector now, just finished his third sector split, or second sector split. Let's see what Miami can do here. Vortex just started a flying lap as well. He's coming into the third sector now, and he gets a little bit of oversteer coming up into the final corner now. Let's see what we got here, and he gets a ton of oversteer on throttle as he goes up into P11. What it could have been, he could have been up into the top 10 there with that lap, but it just got away from him there at the very end. Get that money and run. Put in a 131.3 for P6. There's a lot of the top 5 drivers, 4 out of the 5 are in the pit lane just waiting to start their final lap in this session. Looks like Kill the Birdman just put in a lap. No, he didn't. It was Man all the way up there in P6. I didn't even notice him. I'm sorry, Man. Wow. Birdman coming across the line. He was 1.5 seconds up, and he goes up into P11. Good lap from him, 132.1, as he gets out of the way of all the other drivers. Sinister pulling off the line to let some drivers through here. As he comes back onto the track. See what else we have here. Apex going through the first sector to start his last flying lap of the session. A lot of drivers leaving it late here. It's going to be an exciting finish to this GP, or this qualifying session here for the French GP. Got a lot of fast drivers here, as Greco coming through the third sector now. Get that money and run. Is going to cross the line first, so I'll jump over to him, but it looks like he lost it a little bit coming out of the final corner, so I'll jump back over here to Greco. Let's see what he can do. He goes a 130.3 back on the provisional pole, and by a big margin. Wow, what a job by him, as Pecan comes back onto the track and impedes Bocanos a little bit there. Should have paid attention to his monitor a little bit more, but hopefully that doesn't mess him up too much. He didn't quite get the optimum line going into turn 1. Apex coming towards the line now to finish his first flying lap on this new set of rubber, and he goes up into P4 for the Haas team. A very good lap from him, a 131.1, but not quite up there, as Greco got that incredible pace. Just put it in the lap. Wow. Sniper Pig comes across the line to start a flying lap here. See who else we have in the third sector. Vortex in the third sector. He peels off into the pit lane. Somebody else just crossed the line. It was Bossman starting his flying lap with only a minute and some change left in this session. These drivers are really going to be under pressure. They got to cross the line here soon. A couple of drivers will be able to get in 2 flying laps if they cross the line quick enough. Like the Ferrari of Bocanos here. He's in the third sector. With his teammate right behind him of Pecan. Pecan's going to be wanting to back off just a little bit. Get out of that dirty air some, as the McLaren of Greco, he's confident in his lap time. He pulls into the pit lane. as it looks like we've got some Ferrari slipstream tactics here going into turn 1, as Pecan goes to the outside of Boconos. Boconos lets him right on through, so that'll be good for a 10th, I would assume. Sniper Pig, 3/10 up on his lap. This is due for a 1:30 lap time here. Let's see if he can nail this third sector. Gonna ride on board with him here. See what he can do. See if he can hit these apexes in these last 2 corners. Swing it out wide a little bit. Bring it back into that apex and hit this apex in the final corner. You got to make sure you get a good exit. You can't hit that curb or else you'll lose traction. Here comes Sniper Pig across the line. And he goes into P2 with a 130.4. Just not quite there. Sinister starts his final flying lap. See if anybody else can. I don't believe. So that means that this will be everyone's final flying lap of the session. Boss Man crosses the line, does not improve. Just scroll down the list here, see what else we have. Glen Coco peels off into the pit lane. A lot of drivers in that first and middle sector here. Sniper Pig lost his lap. He must have invalidated himself. That's not good for his chances. Sinister coming up behind him. Sniper Pig graciously gets out of the way of Sinister. Sinister coming down to that back straight chicane. Let's fall on board and see how smooth he is here. Cuts it back to the right. Gets a good exit here. Gone to this second part of this main back straight here. See what he can do. He's a 10th up on his time. So he'll be hopefully looking to improve that quite a bit. I don't know if he had a shaky final sector or not in his lap. But if he did, this would be really good for him. See who else we have. Nile, I believe, just put himself up into P15. We have 2 drivers left on track, and Sniper Pig isn't going to be finishing his lap. So it's all on Sinister. Can Sinister pop it on pole, or will Greco get another pole position here at the French GP? Sinister opens up his DRS flap, coming across the line now, and he goes up into P3, takes that away from Pecan with a 130.6. But Greco is on pole position here today with a 130.395. A great lap time from Greco here. Really, just fantastic. Sniper Pig right behind him though, 130.4, and Sinister with that 130.6 in P3. Pecan, P4 with a 130.7. Apex, P5, 131.1. Bossman, P6, 131.1. Man, P7, also with a 131.1. A really close qualifying session here. Race Driver, P8, 131.2. Vortex, P9, 131.2. Get that money and run, P10, 131.3. Amazing how close this field is here. I mean, just look at the gap. The top 10 is covered by less than a second. This is great. Run through the rest of the order here. Masashiro for Alfa Romeo, P11. Boconos, P12. Dollar Hyde, P13. Birdman, P14. Nile, P15. Miami in his debut for Mercedes is P16. Drew, P17. Glen Coco, P18. Madia, P19. And Duck left the session early. He is P20. I'm going to go ahead and get ready for this French GP. Get this hype up in chat here. As I just looked at my TV and saw the Saints game and figured out that I'm sad. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and back out to the main menu here and wait for my invite. Nobody leave us. We'll be with the race here shortly. Here in the UDL F1 League. We'll see you then. Go ahead and hop in on this lobby. Come on, Pecan, send me that invite, dog. Sorry if you can hear a lawnmower in the background. My dad decided to mow the lawn right now. It's okay. He's legally obligated to. Oh man, I have 52 friends online. I didn't even know I had that many friends. Wow. Man, That's crazy. Got 10 viewers here, everybody. Welcome. If you're new, this is the UDL F1 League here. We race every Sunday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We've got a pretty competitive league here with a lot of really clean drivers. A couple of incidents every once in a while, but most of the time it's very clean. I'm your commentator, Mr. Damage. If you would please just leave a like on the video. Maybe hit that subscribe button. We will be streaming on this account and on the UDL F1 account next week whenever I have a co-commentator in Jonathan for that race. So we will have 2 views for everybody to watch. Be good fun. We're not going to miss any of the action here in the UDL F1 League. And I'll tell you what, this league is action. If you missed it last week, we had a stellar race at Canada. It was brought home by Apex, my F2 teammate. That's my teammate right there. He brought it home for the victory. As wow, I don't even remember the finishing order. That's sad. Disregard. Okay. As Sniper Pig brought home a P2, but it was closely contested by Get That Money and Run, who came P3. And then Sinister last week got disqualified from the qualifying session for blocking the track or driving dangerously. I don't remember which one it was, but it was not a correct penalty. He goes from P20 all the way to P4. Stellar drive from him. He was our driver of the day last week. Big story of last week as well. Pecan got in an incident with Bossman in the dying stages of that race. Pecan was our pole sitter last week. He dropped all the way down into P7. So disappointing result from him. He'll be looking to do a little bit better this week. So he'll be starting pretty close to the front here in P4. We'll look over here to the driver standings. Points leader for the UDL F1 League is Pecan in the Ferrari with 98 points. Sniper Pig is in P2 is 79, and Greco right behind him, 71 points. Apex in P4 in the points, 59. Dollarhide in P5 with 37 points. Breezy, 35 points. Bossman, 32. Sinister, 31. Get That Money and Run with 24 points. And Bokanos with 21. That's your top 10 in the point standings. And then in the Constructors' Championship, Red Bull, with their 2 drivers of Sniper Pig and Real Space Hero, as Glenn Coco is filling in for Space this week. Those 2 drivers have a whopping 154 points. So great for them, as well as any stand-in drivers that have drove in that Red Bull car. Ferrari in P2 in the Constructors' Championship with 140 points, and McLaren has 122. Those three teams are the ones battling out every week for that win. You know those drivers and those cars are going to be up there. But then you also can't count out the Williams drivers or those Haas drivers. Like I said, Apex won last week in the Haas at Canada. So any drivers really in this league have the potential to win. Those Renault drivers are potent. You've got drivers like Sinister, very fast, but sometimes just gets really unlucky. Put it on pole at Monaco. His wheel fails going into turn 1, and it ruins his race. Drops all the way down to the back of the field. Then as he's coming through the field, he unluckily once again gets caught in a crash, rips off his right front tire, and he's done. So these drivers here, they all have some respect from us, as they're all pretty darn good. A lot of these drivers are very consistent. There's not really that many issues. So a couple of aggressive moves here and there, but for the most part, pretty clean most of the time. As we're still waiting for this race to get underway. The UDL F1 GP. Yeah, you can race, Duck. I don't care. I don't care if you race. I just don't want Breezy to race. But, hello everybody that's new to the stream. We're waiting for this race to start. We just finished qualifying here for the UDL F1 League. Greco put it on pole for McLaren with a time of 1:30.3 here at France. It's Circuit Paul Ricard. Sniper Pig P2 with a 1:30.4. Sinister P3 with a 1:30.6. Pecan P4. Apex P5. Bossman P6. Man P7. Race Driver P8. Vortex P9. And get that money and run. Rounds out the top 10. We could do pre and post race interviews, which I could do. Everybody in chat, I can ask people of your choice throughout the race to interview them after the race is over. So if you would like, I can do some interviews. I can also record them and just post them up. As I've watched it live, I would have a decent understanding of how the race went for them, so we could probably, I could probably interview the winner, and then maybe if you guys all vote on somebody else, then hey, I'll interview them too if they're down. So we're waiting for this race to get started. It looks like all the drivers are now in the lobby. Alright, Sniper Pig, I guess I'll interview you. Yeah, I mean, and I know all of you guys in this league are watching. If any of you, I know you're going to watch this after the race, or if you're listening now, if any of you want an interview to be done live, or me to pre-record it, post it on the, and post it on the UDL F1 League page, I will gladly do it. I really like content creation. You can't tell by my upload schedule, but I do like creating content. I just get busy every once in a while, but this kind of stuff right here, I really love. I love this commentating stuff. This is a lot of fun. I just love watching it all, you know? Oh man, this is shaping out to be a good race here. You know what I really wish I had right now? I need an energy drink. I gotta get hyped up. You know what I mean? I gotta get hyped up. This right here is about to be a race for the ages. I don't care what you say about France being bad for overtaking. This F1 game makes every track good for overtaking. I mean, did you watch Monaco? Go back and watch Monaco. That race was excellent. Didn't have quite as many overtakes as we did at Canada, but man, was it fun to watch. That was an entertaining race for sure. And Canada, whoo-hoo, what a race. I can't even explain how great that race was. Battles at the front throughout the entire race. Battles in the midfield throughout the entire race. Battles at the rear throughout the entire race. You know, I really need some rich energy, but I don't think they'd sponsor it. I might email them and ask them to sponsor the UDL League. And then, hey, I might get some rich energy to drink. Never had it before, so I might want to try it. You never know, you know? As long as Vortex is okay with me interviewing him, I can. I don't know what any of these drivers' schedules are. As we have all the drivers in here, 21 out of 22 slots filled. That means every seat is filled, and I'm the oddball. My favorite energy drink, by the way, is a Gronk Monster. Those things are absolutely fire. I don't care what anybody says, that's the best energy drink on earth. Now there is something I call liquid crack that Rockstar makes. Pooh. Whoo-hoo. That stuff right there. Whoo. You sip that, I swear you are wired. I mean, you take 2 sips, you're wired for 4 hours. It's unbelievable. We are loading into this French GP here at Circuit Paul Ricard. One of my favorite tracks in the game. Has one of the hardest pit lane entries there is. It's pretty tough to gauge. It's one of those pit lane entries that's just different. They changed it in one of the latest updates here for the F1 2019 game. So it'd be more like it should be. And a little bit safer, let's be honest. Because the pit lane here, everybody knows the old pit lane was not very fun. We have all the drivers loading into the lobby. I'll take a quick break for myself here. Is everybody ready for this French GP here in the UDL F1 League? Here at Circuit Paul Ricard. Round 8 of this championship. See if Pecan can hold on to that championship lead, or let's see if he falters a little bit like he did last week. Loses that championship lead out to those drivers behind. Sniper Pig or Greco are right there on his heels. They could easily steal it from him. Those two drivers only 8 points apart. And Apex, who has been on and off this season since the time change for the races, he will be a full-time driver in both leagues as we start our formation lap here in France. All of these drivers are getting ready, warming up their tires. Let's look at these tire choices here. We've got the top 10 mandatory to start on softs, or at least whatever tire they qualified on. Bocanos and Dahl. Dollar High putting on those mediums, as well as Miami, Drew U, Glen Coco, and Duck at the back of the field. We've got Vortex and Madia outside of the top 10. The only two drivers on soft compound tires, and Birdman and Nile on the hard compound tires. They'll be looking to stretch out this first stint quite a bit and throw on those softs at the end of the race for a fast stint. Go through the field here of all the drivers. All of them weaving down this back straight like a bunch of madmen. Williams there of Dollar getting off circuit just a little bit to avoid. Got a couple drivers lagging. Oh, actually, a couple of drivers have been disqualified from the formation lap. It looks like Ginkoko and Drew you must have had some sort of coming together, as Greco is way ahead of everybody. He might want to slow down a little bit. Yeah, there we go. He's gonna end up with cool tires at the end of this formation lap, and he's not gonna want that. If he has to sit on the grid for forever, that's not gonna be good for his tires. There's a huge gap from Birdman to Nile, it looks like. Yeah, Nile is really backing up this last little pack here. definitely not going to be good for those leaders. Those leaders are already gritting up. And the last few guys, okay, they're going into the penultimate corner now, so it's not too far back, but it is a pretty decent wait. As the leaders are taking their grid slots now. Try to find the best camera angle here. Looks like this one's pretty, no. I'll go with, I want a long one from the front. Can I get that? I want this one from at the front. That's annoying. Alright, here we go. For the French GP here in the UDL F1 League. The lights are coming on. 4 lights, 5 lights, and the lights are out, and away we go. Greco gets off to a good start from P1. Sniper Pig stays into P2. Sinister is also in P3. We got a good gaggle of cars there at the back of the field. Looks like a McLaren's looking up the inside of Get That Money and Run, and Race Driver in the Williams spins in front of the field, and it takes out quite a few drivers. Oh no, Calamity here in the first corner. Gonna jump back up into the midfield here as we have a 3-wide battle here for P7. Get That Money and Run gets past the Renault of Bossman, and Bokanos is looking up to the right side, and Bokanos goes really wide there onto the painted part of the track. Gonna go back up here to P5 as Apex is looking at making a move into the chicane on Pecan. Pecan just barely had it, barely in front enough for Apex not to get that move done. See if we got anything else going on in this chicane. Doesn't quite look like it, as the drivers of Race Driver and Kill the Birdman seem to be the ones that came out worst on that exchange. Beautiful camera angle here, watching all the drivers start their third sector here. Greco in P1, Sniper Pig P2, and Sinister P3 basically held form from the start. Drew Yu gets an overtake on Glen Coco for P15. Bokanos and Dollar High up to P9 and P10 on those mediums, as Dollar goes a little bit wide there and gets hit from behind by Madia, as Greco comes across the line for the end of this first lap, and he already has a 1-second gap on Sniper Pig. If he can pull out this gap for a little bit, is Sinister and quite a few drivers extending that turn 1 or turn 2. If they extend it a little too much, the stewards might look into it and give them a penalty. Depends on how consistently they do it. Get That Money and Run gets the move done on Man Man. Man Man gets shoved wide a little bit as Bossman takes advantage and takes both positions away. And Bokanos takes advantage of Man Man going slowly, trying to get back onto the racetrack. He takes P8. Get That Money and Run right on the diffuser. Bossman, he tries for a look up the inside into the chicane. He goes for it. Bokanos makes it 3 wide, thinks better of it, and they're still side by side, the Renault and the McLaren. Bokanos pulls out to the left side, and they're 3 wide here going into the start of this third sector. This is going to be tight going into this right-hander. They all fall back into line here. Looks like the McLaren, if Get That Money and Run, was looking up the inside, but decided to back out of it. Bokanos, late lunge up the inside there, but he's going to have a hard time going up the inside there as it turns into the outside for this long left-hander. Pecan is right on this diffuser of Sinister Owl, coming through the penultimate corner now and onto the final corner. See what he can do, see if he can get a good run here on Sinister, as those 3 drivers back there battling it out for P6 are still holding form. Doesn't look like Pecan's quite close enough, as it looks like Miami has peeled off into the pit lane already. He must have had some sort of damage. It's not good for his race. Get That Money and Run misses the turn 1 chicane, and Bokanos goes very wide and already has a 3-second time penalty on lap 3. As Man Man spins it out here in turn 4, and he pulls right into the path of Vortex. Vortex was caught off guard there by Man Man, and Man Man gets a 5-second time penalty from the game for pulling and right into Vortex's path there. Vortex will not be happy with that. Vortex, good race here after a after a couple of sad results in the last couple of races. Sinister right on the back of Pecan here, going through the third sector. Pecan, excuse me, right on the back of Sinister. Sinister right on the back of Sniper Pig, and Greco has already pulled out a 2-second gap to the leaders ahead. Definitely putting in those lap times and really pulling away from these drivers. Sniper Pig doesn't seem to quite have the pace to keep up with Greco here in these early stages. As these drivers stay in form one by one, coming onto the main straight. DRS should be enabled, and it is. Sinister has DRS, but might not quite be there in time. He looks to the outside, but the door closes. He pulls right back in line and follows him out. A good run through the turn 2 there. It's Bocanos. Bocanos and Get That Money and Run have a collision in the turns 1 and 2. And it holds up Dahl. Dahl right there behind them both. And Bocanos just dives it right off the inside of Get That Money and Run. But Get That Money and Run goes back for the position. And the Williams gets pushed out wide because of these two battling with broken front wings. They're going for They're going for the kill here. Dahl moves up into P8 as Bocanos goes very severely wide there. Madia moves up into P9. Excuse me, Maida, I believe, Maida. I'm going to go back up to this front pack here as they're all single file, around half a second away from each other. So I'm going to back on up to this gaggle here at the midfield. Duck already up into P10 from P20 on the grid, so a great drive from him here in the early stages. He's really putting in those laps. Glenn Coco also gets by Bocanos as well as Nile. Bocanos is really struggling here. Bocanos makes a little bit of contact with Nile and barges his way back by. Bocanos is driving extremely dangerously here. He also chops off the front wing of Madia there. So it's pretty dangerous driving there as Get That Money and Run comes into the pit lane. Sinister right on the back of Sniper Pig after that DRS straight. Get That Money and Run and Bocanos both in the pit lane now. See if Sinister can get a good run through the end of this first sector and into the start of the second sector onto that first DRS straight here, or the second DRS straight here, excuse me. See what he can do. Sinister only 4/10 behind Pecan, 4/10 behind Sinister. He'll have the double toe here. Sinister pulls to the inside of Sniper Pig. Let's see if he can make this move stick. Not quite close enough this time. Pecan looking to the outside of Sinister. Sinister forces him a little wide there, but Pecan still has the space. And Pecan is right beside him. There's no point in watching first place. He's 2 seconds ahead. This is a lot better battle here as Pecan is right there behind Sniper Pig. He's looking, he's sniffing up the inside, but not quite enough room there in that corner. He's going through the left-hander here in this single file middle sector. It's pretty tough to get an overtake done here. Get That Money and Run, and Bocanos still back here battling it out. Greco peels off into the pit lane. Or no, Sniper Pig peels off into the pit lane, my bad. On lap 4 here of this GP. And he releases Pecan, Sinister, and Apex to go try to chase down Greco, who has a 3-second gap on Pecan. So that really costed these drivers here from 2nd to 5th. Being held up behind Sniper Pig, who seemed like he was struggling there. We have Man Man. Man Man has retired from the session. I wonder what happened to him. Not quite sure. We still have a good battle here brewing between these three drivers at the front. Sinister looking up to the inside once again. He pulls alongside and they make contact, and Sinister goes into a spin. Sinister spins out in the chicane trying to make an overtaking move stick. He gets it back going straight and he pulls back onto the track. But that was not good for him, as he gets a corner cutting penalty that will most likely be taken off. Got a good little battle here between Madia or Maida, Duck, and Glen Coco here in P7, P8, and P9. The final points paying positions there. Back up to the front. I'm going to go back to this battle because these drivers are very close. As Duck sends one up the inside there, but he'll be on the outside for this next corner. That's not going to be good for him. As Maida still holding him up here as Greco peels off into the pit lane here at the end of lap 5. Sinister also peels off into the pit lane here at the end of lap 5. So Sinister's going for the undercut on these drivers. Pecan, Apex, and Bossman going for that overcut. Not quite sure how well that'll work for these drivers, as it looks like Greco will be held up by these 3 drivers right in front of him. He comes out right in traffic. Let's see how Sniper Pig came out. Sniper Pig came out right in front of Massa. That was huge for his race. Greco's going to have to clear out this traffic quick if he wants to have any chance of not losing his lead here. These drivers are fighting for position, so they're letting anybody go here. As Apex goes up into P1 here. He passes Pecan for P1, so he'll be the one taking point. And go back to Greco here, see if he can make any overtakes happen. The 2 drivers in front of him are side by side of Glen Coco, Glen Coco and Duck, as Duck loses it a little bit coming out of the chicane. And so that means that Greco gets into P6, and he only has Glen to contest with. So it doesn't seem like he's going to have too many issues as Madia and Duck swerves aggressively back onto the track right in front of Maid. That was pretty dangerous there. Man, left the session is Apex. Apex get a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Not again. He has such bad luck with speeding penalties already. So this is really going to hinder his race here. Greco comes around the final corner. Let's see where he is compared to Pecan, Apex, and Bossman. Greco comes across the line, and he will get in front of these drivers. So their drivers, their tires were really eaten up. Sniper Pig gets out in front of them as well. But Sinister looks like he got held up quite a bit there. He went onto the hard compound tires, so his outlap was not very fresh. It was not very good because of that tire choice, and he drops down quite a few positions. He's around net P5, P6 now. Oh yeah, that's right. He had that spin. I forgot. Massa peels off into the pit lanes. Dahl and Greco fighting it out for P1 here. Greco a pit stop ahead of Dollar. So he easily flies past Dollar into P1. Glenn P3, Duck in P4, Madia and Sniper fighting it out for P5. Sniper takes it away from Mabe. Nile in P7 still yet to stop. Apex right behind him, pulls to his right side. He's going to try to get this overtake done. Leave it to Pecan to try to get by him here in this very difficult section to overtake. But Nile doesn't look like he's going to be giving it up anytime soon. Nile goes a little bit wide there, and that allows Pecan to get alongside. Pecan's going to have to fight him now as Pecan does swoop around the outside. Bossman needs to clear Nile quick if he wants any chance of getting into this battle here for the podium positions. As Maid peels off into the pit lane, and Greco sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:34.3. Greco has some stellar pace here, and he's pulled out quite a good gap here to the rest of these drivers. Pecan behind Apex, who is 2 seconds back on Sniper Pig. That just shows you how strong that undercut is in this game. And Greco, who pitted on the same lap as Sniper Pig, he's way out front now. He's almost 5 seconds in front of Sniper Pig. So very clean race here from Greco. If he can keep it clean, he'll have a win in the bag. Sniper Pig pulls to the inside of Duck, going into the middle chicane. Duck seemingly just lets him through. He knows this isn't his battle to be in. Just let him go, kind of follow behind him, catch his slipstream, and try to beat out those other drivers he's racing with for the bottom half of these points paying positions. Apex will be catching him right at the wrong time here in this final sector. So he'll lose a little bit of time here to Pecan because of that dirty air. Look at that, Pecan's already cut out 3/10 to Apex. Make that 4/10. As these drivers here in the top 5 are still very close together. Not very far apart, and Sinister will be looking to get all of that time lost back in that collision with Pecan earlier in that chicane. He'll be looking to get all that back here. Apex looks down the inside of Duck here, and he takes that position back. So it looks like Duck took the position back on the main straight while I was blowing. So have a good run out of that corner with his fresher tires. Pecan looks to the inside, and he forces the Ritto off of the track of Bossman. A little bit of questionable driving there from Pecan, as he didn't quite leave a car's width on the outside. It didn't look like from that angle. Bossman was having to clatter over those curbs. Pecan looking to the inside, not quite enough momentum to get past Duck this time. Duck still holding him up, and look at that gap that Apex has already pulled on Pecan here. Pecan's losing a ton of time to Duck here. As it looks like my internet's having a couple of issues here, so I'm sorry about the lower quality that it just jumped to. As we are going into lap 12, Pecan will breeze by Duck here, at least seemingly he will. So they're fighting up here for the podium positions. Glenn Coco gets passed by Sniper Pig. Probably a tactical pass there, as Glenn goes a little bit wide there coming out of turn 2. And Pecan gets past Duck, but crucially, Bossman does not. So Bossman does not get past Duck there, and so Bossman's going to have to sit behind him here just a little bit more and wait for that DRS straight. But Duck's going to have DRS on Pecan, so let's just see how good of an exit Bossman can get here out of this, into this first sector and into the second sector. Duck did not get DRS somehow. Either that or he's just letting him through. He knows, he should know by now that this battle is not really for him. As Glenn Coco gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. Apex gets past Glenn, and just look at the gap that Apex has pulled on Pecan just because Pecan took that long to get past. Sniper Pig gets in front of Dollar, who still is yet to pit on those 10-lap mediums. Apex is right there on the diffuser of Dollar as well, so he's going to be looking to get past him as soon as possible so he can keep up with Sniper Pig here. He's not going to want to lose too much time to him. He thinks about a move to the inside, but thinks better of it. He's going to try to get a better exit here onto this main straight, this pit straight, and he doesn't. He gets a little bit of oversteer coming out of the final corner. A little bit too much right foot. Apex pulls to the inside and will take the position, it looks like, away from Dahl. And Glenn Coco spins trying to follow Apex through on the inside of Dollar. So Glenn Coco, hugely upsetting for him, as he's going to have definitely going to have to pit here soon now. So those tires are not going to like that. So we have all these drivers up front separated by a full second now, except for Dollar and Pecan. These drivers that have stayed out on those mediums tires from the first stint are really messing with these guys as Dollar pulls over and lets Pecan through. He knows for sure this is not his battle to fight. He's fighting with Duck and Coco and these other drivers at the top of and for those final points playing positions. Apex reeling in Sniper Pig's P2 position. He's only 6/10 behind. He was a full second behind, but that dirty air is really going to kill him here in this third sector. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sniper Pig pulls a little bit of a gap here in this third sector, and he does. He pulls a couple of tenths. Bossman, as Dollar pulls into the pit lane, so Bossman was going to have to get by Dollar there soon, but Dollar pulls in right in front of him. And so does Duck in the Mercedes. So the two drivers, all three drivers that were left out on those medium tires at the front of the field have pitted, and that means that Greco is in net first place with Sniper Pig P2, Apex in P3, Pecan in P4, Bossman P5, and Sinister in P6. Nile yet to pit in P7. Drew U yet to pit in P8. I'm gonna have to mute myself here for a second. From the storage now, an incident between Man and Get That Money and Run is under investigation. So those two drivers will be under investigation, as well as the incident between Pecan and Sinister that sent Sinister in a spin. And Glenn Coco as well, and his incident with, I believe it was Bossman. That will also be under review here. Hopefully hopefully the stewards can get a decision made by the end of this race, as Vortex peels off into the pit lane out of P10. Kind of a strung out race here. This is how this track usually gets, but whenever you have a little bit of calamity, it gets worse and worse. Duck is reeling in, Get That Money and Run for that final points paying position. Looks like he's in a net P8 or P7 now, so a great drive from him from P20 to here. Good showing from Duck, who didn't even qualify. I believe he disconnected. Apex, right on the diffuser of Sniper Pig. He looks to the outside, but nothing's doing there. He pulls right back in behind him at his diffuser. He's been staring at that rear wing for far too long. Apex wants to get by and try to carve into that gap that Greco has, but Greco with that 8-second gap, I don't imagine he's going to be able to, I don't think he's going to be able to be caught. I mean, that's a big gap unless there's a safety car or something. Spurtman gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings for cutting for track limits. Apex in that DRS range, but crucially he lost a lot of time in that middle sector because of dirty air. It's a Sniper Pig. It's got big cushion there. Pecan looks to the inside, just throws a little bit of a dummy there, trying to get Sinister to make a little bit of a mistake. These two drivers will be batting it out as Drew U pulls into the pit lane. Pecan looks up the inside of Bossman here. Did I say Sinister? I meant to say Bossman. Whatever. Bossman and Pecan here battling as one of the last remaining drivers on those old starting tires peels off into the pit lane. I feel like Sinister might be trying to one-stop as Apex and Sniper Pig are side by side here in the chicane, and Apex gets past Sniper Pig and Pecan gets a 5-second time penalty for corner cutting, so it looks like he cut the chicane there. Looks like he completely missed it as Sniper Pig right on the back of Apex. He's going to want to get this back because he knows he might lose it. Apex has 2-lap fresher tires, and Sniper Pig looks to the inside but doesn't quite get the run that he needs to get, and will stay right behind him. Pecan ran through that chicane and gained a huge advantage, so that will definitely be under the watch of the stewards. He'll be under the magnifying glasses. Glenn Coco gets a penalty there. And get that money and run. Get that money and run has spun after contact with Duck in the third sector. Get that money and run has spun. Terrible news for his race. He could have gotten some points there after a disappointing qualifying and disappointing start to his race. Race driver peels into the pit lane. One of the last surviving drivers with Nile, who started the race and have just stayed out there the entire time. Greco 9 seconds ahead of everybody, but Apex is under attack here from Sniper Pig. Sniper Pig looks to the outside into chicane. It turns to the inside for the turn 9. Apex tries to get a cutback. Let's see if he can get a better exit. It looks like he does. He turns on his ERS, puts it into overtake mode. He pulls into the outside going into turn 10 here. Let's see if he can make it stick all the way around the outside. He stays there, wheel to wheel here, going into turn 11, and Sniper Pig will hold this position. We'll take it back from Apex. Sniper Pig really looking to hold on to that P2 because he knows he can't catch Greco. So he's got to be able to hold off Apex to keep this P2 and keep as many points as possible, in hopes that Greco doesn't pull away too far in the Drivers' Championship. Looks like we're a little bit strung out here, these drivers. Alright, out of request, I'll follow Greco around, but I really want to get back to these drivers that are battling for this P2 and P4. Those battles are really intense. As soon as those drivers get on this back straight, I'm hopping back over to them. So I wanna, if there's an overtake happening, I wanna see it. So I'm gonna hop back over here. Apex pulls to the outside of Sniper Pig going into the chicane, and Apex takes the position before the chicane. So Sniper Pig must be having issues with his ERS, and Bossman takes the position away from Pecan. So Sniper Pig must have been saving his ERS for this run down into the next corner. He swoops into this corner, but looks like he will be staying behind Apex here. And it looks like Pecan and Bossman will be holding form as well. It's Greco peels off into the pit lane. Looks like he's using pit assist, so he just flies on into the pit lane and the car stops for him. So Greco peels off into the pit lane, and so does Sniper Pig. So these drivers are guaranteed to be on a 2-stop. This might put Sinister and Nile in a very good position here, because it looks like they're going for a 1-stop here. All these drivers on these hard compound tires are going for that 1-stop. Looks like strategy could really help a lot of these drivers' races. Sinister was in that lead pack. It looks like Greco will come out in clean air this time, so that's really good for his race. Sinister up and promoted into P5 after Sniper Pig pit. So Sinister looks like he's in a net P2 if he's going for that 1-stop. Goes a little bit wide there in turn 2. Definitely going to have a talk with him in the storage room after this race. Looks like Apex has a 3-second gap to Bossman and Pecan behind him. These guys are really going to want to get a good couple of in laps here. Pecan pulls to the inside of Bossman going into this turn 8. He takes the position, it looks like. Yes, he does. He takes the position in turn 9, coming out of turn 10 there. So Pecan back into P2, which would be a net P4. These guys really battling out for P4 and P5 here. They really want these points. I mean, these points matter a lot. Especially for Bossman. He's in that midfield battle. Speaking of Bossman, Bossman spins on the rear tire of Pecan. So Pecan and the Renaults are having a couple of run-ins here today in this French GP. And it looks like Bossman will be peeling off into the pit lane after that. So Bossman loses quite a bit of time there, almost 5 seconds. Apex and Pecan still stay out for yet another lap. I'm not sure if that's the best strategy. Greco comes across the line. Sinister will be promoted into P4, and Bossman goes on to the soft compound tires. That's a big gamble here. Not quite sure how long those tires will last. He'll be looking to stretch those tires around 8 laps here. They should make it because the car is at very low fuel, but it'll be close. His tires are definitely going to be falling off at the end of this race. And we're a little bit strung out. A little bit strung out here in this field. Right now, Bossman right on the back of Dollar. Bossman's going to be on these soft tires. He's going to be in a hard charge through the field here. He's going to try to get in a really good in lap and see if he can jump Pecan back after losing all that time. I'm not sure if he can gain that much time back, but he's going to be close as he looks to the inside going into this chicane here in the middle sector. And he takes the position away from Dollar. So Bossman promotes himself up into P6 here. Sinister in a net P2. 5 seconds ahead of Sniper Pig. So he goes wide once again. Definitely going to have a talk with him here about these track limits infringements. Not a very good look for him. Greco puts in the fastest lap of the race with a 132.9. Riding around with Niall here, who just made a pit stop here for medium tires to go to the end of this race. Looks like these drivers out front of Pecan and Apex are going to be staying out once again. So they might be stretching these tires off to the end of this race because they know that's the only chance they have of winning. So Apex might be in a net P1 here. With Pecan in P2. So this strategy game is really shaking things up here. And if that's the case, then Bossman might be losing out quite a bit here. This is not good for his race. Just get that money and run, peels off into the pit lane. The way these strategies are going to run together here is going to be fun to watch. Greco's got a ton of pace though, so he's definitely going to be catching up here. I'm going to ride on board with Greco, and I'm going to take a little break for myself as you guys can just watch this gap decrease to Pecan ahead. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss any of the action here in this F1 UDL League here at the French GP. Greco has left the session. Greco has left the session. This is not good for his race as the AI are set to a really low pace. So this is not going to be good for him. I don't know if he disconnected or what. This is going to allow Pecan to really pull away. If he's going to try to pull off this one stop, this might be the best chance he has. Greco. Unfortunate for him, he disconnected in that Monaco GP as well. Sinister really pushing here on these hard tires. He's going to want to not push as hard and save these tires for the end of this race. They're going to be falling off quite a bit. Apex will be catching Bossman here pretty soon as Apex reels him in a couple of tenths in that chicane by itself. Not quite going to be close enough. Yes, Pecan definitely needs to get into the pit lane. As you can see how much time Greco is losing with his AI driving. Pecan stays out for another lap, so he's definitely going to be doing the one stop. So this strategy call from Ferrari might just be the strategy of the day. I mean, this strategy is going to be helping him. And Sinister, he knows the Sniper Pig is coming up behind, but Greco in front is on an AI. Greco has joined back into the session, but he lost so much time. He was only 3 seconds behind Pecan. Now he's 8.5. Looks like Bossman and Apex. Apex took the position away from Bossman. Glen Coco retires from the session. Oh no! Glen Coco, after such a good race he had there, a couple of spins early on in this race, it looks like he's broken his suspension. That's not good for him. Get some F's in chat for Glen Coco. And Nile. And there's a virtual safety car out. Nile gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. So that's not going to be good for his race. His brilliant strategy here is not going to pay off. And this virtual safety car is going to help Pecan a lot if it stays out long enough for Pecan to get into the pits and come back out on a brand new set of soft tires. He might have this race win. And Sinister, I'm not quite sure if it's better for Sinister to stay. And Pecan gets a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane, or speeding under the virtual safety car. So he's going to have to serve that. Pecan just choked away this race win. Here in the dying stages of this race, only 5 laps remaining. And Greco peels off into the pit lane. Not quite sure why. I think he has some front wing damage of some sort of something. So that's going to promote Sinister Owl up into P2. Sniper Pig up into P3. Most likely Apex into P4 and Bossman into P5. So unfortunate turn of events here for Greco's. Greco's tires are used softs. They're 6-lap-old softs. So he's screaming in that helmet at McLaren for putting on the wrong set of tires. Dollar comes through for P6 in this race for Williams. So it looks like Pecan might have this race win in the bag here. Actually, never mind. Pecan won't have this race win in the bag. Sniper Pig and Sinister are going to be racing for the race win here because Pecan got that drive-through penalty. Pecan's going to lose at least 15 seconds on that. So that was huge for Pecan's race there. Unbelievable that he got that penalty. Just can't believe that he sped under the virtual safety car like that. There's no need to speed there. He was so far ahead. Greco basically throws away a win there by pitting onto the soft tires. He must have not seen that Pecan was gonna have to come through the drive-through. Get that money and run. Gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. He came into the pit lane after he came back, so Sinister and Sniper Pig battling for this race win. Sinister gets passed by Sniper Pig there into turn 1. So this is going to be the battle for the win here. Pecan goes onto an old set of mediums. That's not good for him. Apex is going to be right there on his tail. He's going to be chasing him down. Apex might have a podium position here. So Pecan has thrown away this race win after Greco threw away his race win. Unbelievable scenes here in this race. Just crazy how this is working out. Sinister in that DRS behind Sniper Pig. He's going to want to get past Sniper Pig here. He's not going to quite be close enough. His tires are just so old. They're 17 laps old. Pecan on those old medium tires is going to lose out this podium position for sure to Apex. Probably P4 to Bossman as well. He's going to probably drop down to P5 here. Pecan gets passed by Apex going into the third sector here. Pecan still looking to the outside, but his tires are just so dead. He's not going to have any grip. Sniper Pig, what looks like something that just wasn't going to happen. He was having issues early on in the race with pace, was having to battle off a bunch of drivers. Looks like he might end up with the win here. Unless there's some penalties. I'm actually going to look at the race director, see what kind of penalties we have here. So we got a 3-second time penalty for Boconos, 5 seconds for Man. 3-second time penalty for Sinister. That's going to be a big one. 5-second time penalty for Apex. He already served that. 3-second time penalty for Glenn. 3 seconds for Birdman. 5-second time penalty for corner cutting for Pecan. So he's going to drop quite a bit. Glenn has a ton of time penalties here. So this isn't good for his race. A lot of warnings. Miami, 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Greco, 3-second time penalty. Vortex, severe collision. So here we are with 2 laps left in this GP. Pecan is going to have to hold on to these positions. It looks like the furthest down he can drop is P5. But he's going to want to at least battle here for this position for bragging rights. This seems to be the closest battle on track unless Sniper Pig makes a mistake out front and Sinister can capitalize. Looks like Sniper Pig will have this race win in the bag, but Sinister, after that spin earlier, it's a story of what if. If he hadn't spin off of Pecan, he might have won this race. Because he had some pace. With this one-stop strategy, he could have easily won this race. So Sniper Pig starts the penultimate lap here. Sinister Owl in P2, Apex in P3, Pecan P4, Bossman right behind Pecan in P5. He's going to be looking to take away that position. He doesn't know that Pecan has a penalty, I don't believe, so he's going to be fighting as hard as he can. Pecan will defend him as hard as he can, try to force a mistake out of Bossman. Maybe Bossman makes a mistake, loses a bunch of time. As we have a yellow flag in Sector 3. Greco has spun. Greco has spun. He's stopped in the middle of the track there in the final corner. And he's coming back onto the track in P12. So very unlucky day for him. He's once again stopped in the middle of the track. And looks like he'll get going again, but that is super unlucky for Greco from P1 to P13. Unbelievable for him. Driver of the day has to be Duck here in P7 all the way from P20. Great drive from him. I'm going to jump up to this battle between Bossman and Pecan. It looks like Bossman got past Pecan while I was looking at that incident. Vortex and Madia battling for P15 and P16. They're battling hard here, side by side through the first sector. And Vortex has the nose ahead, but Madia gets the better run here. Maida pulls in front, but Vortex is going to have that DRS onto this DRS straight here. So Vortex is going to have the advantage going to the chicane. Maid's going to go defensive here, and Vortex looks like he's going to go flying past. Oh no, there's contact. Oh, there's lag involved here. One of these two drivers is lagging quite a bit. Greco gets past to P14 now for Greco. Get some F's in chat for Greco here. Monka S. Monka S. Pecan only 2/10 behind, 1/10 behind. He pulls to the outside of Bossman. Pecan goes right back around Bossman here on this final lap of this GP. Get that money and run. And Bocanos battling for the final points paying position. And Bocanos spins there and resets his car to the track. It's a big no-no resetting his car. Apex reeling in the dying tires of Sinister, but it doesn't look like he's going to quite have enough time. Sniper Pig coming through the final sector now. He's going through the penultimate corner. Going to be coming to the final corner here soon. Looks like Sniper Pig will take the French GP and win here in France. Sinister will come across the line in P2, and with his penalty, he might drop down into P3 here. He does. So Apex pulls into P2 there. Pecan crosses the line in P4, but has his 5-second time penalty. So he goes into P5. Dollar will be coming across the line here in P6. Duck Coming to the final corner now will be P7. Race driver going to the final sector. P8. Get that money and run. Makes a move for P9 with Drew you here. So this is going to be a good battle to watch for the rest of this race. This race drivers coming to the final corners now. I'm going to watch this little battle between these two drivers. It looks like Get That Money and Run will have the advantage here, and will take that final points paying position, or put Drew you down into that final points paying position, and Get That Money and Run will get 2 points out of this race for McLaren. So after a great showing for McLaren in qualifying and for most of this race, they're just nowhere. 1 point to McLaren's name. Niall comes home in P12. Massa going to be coming home here in P13. Vortex P14. Maida P15. Miami right behind him in P16. Kill the Birdman P17, and Greco plumb last on the track in P18. Well, that'll do it for the French GP here in the UDL F1 League. I've been your host, Mr. Damage. Everybody that's been watching this race, please leave a like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you can see whenever we go live for next week's UDL F1 League race. It was a cracking race there at the beginning, and some great strategy calls there by a few teams. So, very great race there. It's fun to watch. Good strategy race. I won't be going off of live here. I'll be inviting a couple of drivers to my party that would like to have an interview. So Sniper Pig gets the win here in the French GP for Red Bull. Apex in P2, Sinister in P3, Bossman P4, and Pecan rounding out the top 5. Dahl in P6, Duck in P7, Race Driver in P8, Drew U in P9, and Get That Money and Run rounds out the point paying positions in P10. Alright everybody, I believe what I'll be doing is I will be recording these interviews. So, everybody, I hope you enjoyed. What a wild race. That was a great one. So, just bravo, France, bravo. I don't think that was the right language, but I don't care. And we will see you guys next week for the UDL F1 League race in Austria, and also for the F2 League race in Monaco. Everybody have a great night. We'll see you later.